Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another video, and today I'm taking a look at another older high-grade kit, and this right here is the high-grade Universal Century Victory 2 Gundam from Mobile Suit Victory Gundam. This one right here is from 2014, so it is only 6 years old. And once again, with these older reviews, if there is something you would like to see, drop them in the comments. If I can grab one and get it reviewed, I'll try to do that. But anyway, let's get this thing built. So anyway, there is the high-grade Victory 2 Gundam out of the box, snapped together with a little bit of panel lining using standard Gundam marker panel line markers, as well as the included stickers. I also cut the safety nubs off the V-fin, but that is it. And I have to say, I am extremely impressed by this kit. So I will admit right off the bat that I do avoid Victory Gundam suits quite a bit, for the main reason that, well, I built the Master Grade Ver back when I was only originally getting into Gunpla, and that thing drove me mad. It's so fragile, it falls apart all the time. It was one of my least favorite building experiences ever, so I just kind of stopped paying any attention to the mobile suit that is Victory Gundam. So while I was grabbing some high-grade kits to do some videos of, some older ones that I've missed in the past, this one did pop up from the store I was buying from. They did not have the standard Victory Gundam. I love the design of the Victory 2. It is quite visually stimulating. So I was like, I'll give it a chance. I don't know why I expected it to be bad, like the Master Grade, but it is not. It is not at all. I love this to bits. The build was enjoyable and simple, but what you get out of that is very impressive. Color-wise, it is very nice in yellow, blue, red, and white. And although there could be some more detail in a lot of the recessed parts, which are meant to be grey, it still looks great just out of box as it is. There's something about the Victory's design. It's soft, rounded, and very, well, ergonomic looking. And by just adding those big V thrusters onto the back, this thing looks awesome, and this high grade looks awesome too. As for the nubs, they're not that apparent. Once again, I did just do one snip so you can see if there's any nubs around the place. There isn't that many, even though there is some big gates on this thing, they don't show up so much. So yeah, once again, very impressed with the Victory 2 Gundam. So onto a size comparison, and as far as I know, I don't have any other Victory Gundam mobile suits, but there it is side by side with a standard sized Gundam, which is the RX-78-2. There's a slightly bigger Gundam that was the closest thing to me, which of course is Iron-Blooded Orphans Hajiroboshi. So as you can tell, Victory is a tiny Gundam, so there it is besides some more small boys. First up being Seraphim Gundam, and second up there is the real grade Wing Gundam Zero EW. So now moving on to the accessories, and here is the high-grade Victory 2 Gundam with absolutely everything that it comes with, and it comes with quite a few bits. It is the usual Gundam sword, board, and beam rifle, the sword being those two beam sabers, the board being a beam shield, the beam rifle being that beam rifle back there. We also have a grenade launcher attachment, and besides that then we've got a base adapter, alternate beam for using with the beam sabers, as well as the V2 core fighter. As for the hands in here, it's just one pair of holding hands, that is it. Nothing special, nothing posed, and nothing dynamic. Next up in here, we've got those beam sabers. They pop into the hands, simple as this. Although they are a round peg into a square hole, they do hold perfectly well. These beams are actually quite nice. These are vigorous towards the bottom end. These are, however, made out of a sort of hard plastic, so not your usual soft, pliable beam saber. On top of that, we've also got one fan-shaped beam saber blade. Now, this is made out of a hard plastic yet again, and this seems to have been scratched in the box a little bit. I'm not sure if a gloss top coat would fix this or not. Usually it does take scratches out, so if you do have this issue, that might work for you. So there is a bit of an example of what these look like equipped, and sadly there is no place on the mobile suit in which to store them, so when they're not in use, you're just gonna have to pluck them out and throw them away. Next up in here we have the beam rifle. This is just made out of 3 pieces of plastic that's 2 sandwiched together on the barrel. Attaching this is done in the usual way. Just take off the back of the hand, pop it in like so, attach back in the back of the hand, and there we go. We do have 2 foils up front in green for those lenses. And if that isn't enough firepower for you, we've also got an attachable grenade launcher. This is pretty cool, however, I will mention the back of it is hollow, so that could look a little better, but from the front, it looks pretty damn cool. Next up then in here, we've got the beam shield. This looks just like a beam shield usually does. Semi-vigorous, but not too vigorous. Attaching this is pretty simple. It attaches onto that red section you see right there. Swing that out, pop off the top, and then just reattach the top again with that beam shield on it. There's a quick example of what this looks like attached, and for something so simple, this catches the light so impressively. Look at that, that is really nice. Even without any paint, this sort of refracts the light in a really cool way, highlighting itself. Of course, a little bit of white paint will make it look a little bit more vigorous, but it still looks pretty awesome as it is. Next up in here, we've got that V2 core fighter. This is nicely detailed and very nicely color separated. In all the same colors as the mobile suit, which of course it's part of, this is definitely a nice little extra. Honestly, as much as I love full transformations in kits, when it comes to the transformation completely undermining the mobile suit mode, I hate that. So this is definitely better, to me, than something like the Master Grade, which in the end was technically impressive for its time, but made a not very fun model kit. This is a fun model kit. So now moving on to the build and the articulation, and for the most part, the build and the articulation on this are great. The only thing I find is a little wonky about the build is this one joint here, which always seems to just pop off whenever this gets pushed backwards a little bit. Except that particular time when I tried to make an example out of it. But there, see, it pops off sometimes. But once again, not the worst. Neck is that standard giggity goo polycap. So head all the way up, all the way down, side to side pivot, and that can spin all the way around. The polycaps in the shoulder are aligned to move forward and back, but I do find sometimes, like we've seen before, these can get pushed in too far and get stuck like what you're seeing right here. But there is a lot of forward motion here, which is nice, as well as to the back. This kit has some nice shoulder joints, which allows the arm to reach all the way up there in the shoulder. And what we've got in there is a ball joint, so this does everything that a ball joint does. We've got a flappy right here. Full upper arm rotation, but it can get a little bit blocked at the elbow there. We've got a double jointed bend at the elbow, but it seems like they did go for form over function here. So in order to keep the inside aspect of that joint anime accurate, it does kind of block the bend a little bit. However, we do have one of those wrist elbows here, which allows a little bit more. Not a whole lot, just a little bit more. Also, ball joint right here at the wrist. As for the ab crunch, there it is all the way to the front, so not a whole lot. There it is all the way to the back, so a little bit. There's side to side, and this is the typical double polycap ball joint configuration. Also, I assume we've got rotation from there to there. Standard front skirting armor, so this is on ball joints up and down. It's a little bit on the loose side, but I did cut them apart on the runner. Side skirt is standard too, so down, up, rotation on a polycap. That's a thick butt flap, but it's got no articulation. Inside the waist here, we've got that rocking up and down mechanism, and it seems like we get quite a bit of up and down in here. As for the kicks, there it is all the way up to the front, so very, very nice. All the way out to the back, blocked by that thick butt flap. And as for the splits, not the whole way, but not too bad. Once again, this is blocked, more or less, by anime accuracy. Next up here, we have full rotation at the upper leg. We've got a 2-point bend at the knee, not too bad. However, I do find when I'm trying to flex this out sometimes, it will catch here, and then you can leverage the entire leg off by accident, so be careful with that. We've got an armor flappy right here. At the ankle, we have flexion, extension. Inside of that, then we've got a ball joint, which is for the rear armor flappy, so it can move with the foot. The foot then has side to side pivot and a toe bend all the way down. As for that functional movement on the ground, there it is all the way to the back. Very nice. Next up, there it is all the way to the front, so not too bad. And as for that side to side pivot, that's pretty good as well. Around in the back now, and I think these might be my favorite thrusters I've seen on a high-grade Gundam to date. So these Minovsky drive units can move down quite a bit, then up quite a bit, as well as out and in. These flaps can then open up like so. That is a sticker inside, but these are very expressive, and I love that. For example, you can tilt both of them to the one side like this to make it look like it's jetting off this way. Do the same to the other side and it gives it a bit of a dodge to that way kind of feel. Then we're looking from the side, we can align them both pointing down for that ascent, and then align them both this way for that descent. They always just look so expressive, and that I love. You can also just close them up like this, and they just always look so good. So anyway, that right there is it for the articulation, and this is definitely above average and enough to make this a lot of fun to play around with, especially with those big iconic Minovsky drive units around back. This always just looks so cool from every angle most of the time, and I'm surprised I'm saying that about a Victory unit because, well, I was super jaded by the Master Grade, which could do nothing, and this can do a lot. So anyway, that right there is it for the review, and I'm surprised to say that the high-grade Victory 2 Gundam to me is gold tier. This is a beautiful little Gundam. It looks so good. The colors are vivid, the shape is very unique, and the fact that it's taken the Victory Unit V motif and made it into a legit V on a Gundam and make it look so good blows my mind. And on top of those gorgeous looks, this packs in some nice accessories, some decent articulation, and for me, a lot of satisfaction. So if you're thinking of getting one for yourself, I say go for it. And I have a question for you guys. If you've built the high-grade Victory Gundam, is that as good as this is? Because if it is, I might just want one. But anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back for more Gunpla reviews, and I'll see you next time. Also, just a bit of a warning, that V-fin there is quite delicate. Be warned!